Hi, today we're talking to Andy, who's all the way up there in Scotland. How are you today, Andy?
I'm good, thanks.
That's brilliant. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? When did you have your stroke and how's your stroke journey been so far? I believe you've got quite a story to tell.
Yeah, I had my stroke on the 5th of May last year. Um, Now, I am a police officer, you can tell by the hair, but before I had the stroke, I was an ultra endurance runner. I used to run sort of crazy long distances and do a lot of long distance cycling. Um, and I had been over in an island called Tyree, which is off the west coast of Scotland. It's about 4 hours by boat to get there. And I ran a race there on the Saturday. I was camping that night with my son. I woke up on the Sunday morning and I'd had a stroke during the night, albeit I didn't know that at the time. I just woke up and I struggled to sit up. I couldn't get out of the tent. I had to get my son to push me out of the tent. We were due to get the ferry that morning, and I kind of realised I wouldn't be able to cycle down to get the ferry. So, not wanting to annoy people too much, I thought if we could, my wife has family that stay on Tyree, so I thought if I phoned her family, they could come and give us a lift to the ferry, and that would be fine. But as luck would have it, we didn't have a very good mobile signal, so we couldn't get through to them. And eventually I decided that I would have to phone 999. So I phoned 999 to get an ambulance. The doctor on the island attended, took one look at me, bundled me into her car and took me to the surgery. And from there phoned an air ambulance for me. And I was taken by helicopter to Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow, which is a big new one. Initially, they kind of said that they wouldn't take my son with us, and he would be kind of stranded on the island because they don't like to take passengers on the helicopter. But thankfully, the paramedics in the helicopter were quite happy to take him. So we both got flown across to the mainland, to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 4 days. Initially, they did a CT scan. In fact, they did a couple of CT scans, but nothing showed up. And they were talking about discharging me, having diagnosed me with a severe migraine, oddly enough. And just the kind of bit of a belt and braces approach, they thought they'd do an MRI scan before they discharged me. So I came out of the MRI, the radiographer said to me, well, you'll just be going home now. By the time I went back up to the ward, I said to the nurse, oh, the radiographer says I'm going home. She said, oh yeah, just need to have a quick look at the MRI and then you'll be on your way. So I was in the room with my wife getting all the stuff together, and the nurse came back and says, no, you're not going anywhere. You need to see the doctor. And then next morning, the doctor came in and informed me that I'd had a stroke, or actually multiple strokes was how it was described. Showed me the MRI picture, and you could see a significant bit of damage on the right side of my brain. And I've got still got some kind of residual weakness on the left side of my body, some residual balance issues, and some cognitive and sensory issues as well as a result. I think I've been, you see other survivor stories and listen to other survivor stories. In terms of, I had no physical pain whatsoever throughout the entire stroke other than headaches. So from that perspective, I've been very, very lucky, but equally I do still have kind of residual effects. And as a result of the stroke was caused, they eventually discovered I had 2 holes in my heart. And sort of as a result of the investigation into them, they discovered that it's a congenital heart defect. So it's an ascending thoracic aortic aneurysm. So I've got to, having gone from being a kind of ultra endurance athlete, I'm now really limited as to what kind of physical activities I can do, and the kind of level of exertion and length of time that I exert myself as a result of that congenital heart defect. So, I mean, that's kind of it. The journey, from sort of recovery, I was initially, I was discharged from Glasgow and I was getting transferred to NHS Tayside, but I kind of got lost in that process, and the sort of transfer never took place. So had been kind of about 2 weeks after I was discharged, my fit note from work was expiring, and I went down to my doctor to get it renewed, and walked into the doctor's surgery using a stick at that time. And the doctor, who has known me, really just from kind of running and fitness related injuries, seen me walking with a stick and thought, what have you done this time? And I said, well, I'll give you the letter because it's easier to let you read the letter than explain. And you could just see the kind of look of shock and horror on her face as she read the letter. I was very quickly, she got me emergency referrals to the stroke team in Perth. And I've had a lot of support from the occupational health and the physiotherapists in Perth to kind of get myself back to working towards getting back to work. But there's been some real challenges in that, and to try to build myself up physically and overcome the deficits.
Wow, that's quite a story.
Yeah.
So it's made quite a difference to, your normal life and everything with running and things like that.
Absolutely. It's just complete. I mean, I tell it, it's like I kind of went to, it's like switching the computer into sleep mode and then opening it back up and it being not running properly. That's how I describe it to people, because that's the kind of the easiest way to sort of visualize it, I think.
Yeah, it is a very good way to describe it. It just all happens so quickly as well. You don't get any warnings that it's going to happen, and life changes, doesn't it? So during lockdown, what's your household makeup? Have you got children there, or?
Yeah, I'm married, and I've got 3 children. My wife is also a police officer. She's working full time just now. The 3 children, the eldest is 16. She's a Molly. I've got a son, Jake, who's 15, and another daughter, Martha, who's 12. So they're obviously homeschooling. I'm quite fortunate because they're quite motivated, so they do the work themselves. I don't need to kind of stand there with a big stick. Albeit I do have to dig deep into my math skills sometimes to help them out. Maths was my degree years and years ago, but I've forgotten most of it. And but my son, I keep having to solve his maths problems, and I get my youngest daughter, I get to try and solve her problems as well, her maths problems as well. So.
Yeah, it certainly challenges you. You've always got an excuse. Oh, my brain's not working like it was. I can't remember. It's not that I'm getting old and forgotten it all. It's that. Well, that's good that they're they're quite self-sufficient in coping. My youngest is just turned 17, so he's in 6th form, so he's getting on with it himself, thankfully. I don't think I'd like to dig deep back into my school days. So what impact has lockdown had on you as a stroke survivor? Has it changed anything?
I mean, one of my friends said to me, you've had 12 months practice for this. Which in some ways is true, but I mean, I've always been a very independent person. So I was going swimming in Perth regularly, so getting the bus into Perth to go swimming. I would go and sit in a cafe afterwards and have a coffee and read. Just, and I was a kind of a wee bit of me time, but also that bit of kind of dealing with the sensory input of what's happening around you, the kind of the independence of travelling on the bus. So all that worked really well. The swimming was good for me for building the kind of the left side. It wasn't too much stress on my heart, so it was really good for me. So I've really missed that. I also did in the next village at the community centre there. They ran Pilates classes, so I would go to Pilates a couple of times a week there. So a lot of the things, it's been kind of my sort of exercise and socialising, you know, meeting this groups of friends or groups, you know, and going out, just a wee bit of that sensory exposure, which I no longer have now, in terms of going out into busy places. You know, and since we've kind of been in lockdown, 9 weeks ago now, I've not really left the village at all. So
yes, it's a big change to your day, and having your children at home as well must change things. Do you suffer a lot from fatigue? Has that?
I do, and I found myself the kind of a bit worse with fatigue since we came into lockdown. And there was actually a post on Different Strokes this morning where somebody sort of pointed out that change to routine, it kind of really kicked in her fatigue. And I actually thought, no, that's actually probably what's certainly behind some of my fatigue as well, because I had, you know, I don't get that kind of, it's not that my children kind of interrupt or disturb me, but there's not that time to just chill out, you know, because they're always here. They're always kind of, you know, asking questions or just moving about the house. But as you can imagine, with a 15-year-old son, trying to feed him.
Oh yes, I have two sons. I know that problem.
He's just constantly hungry, so he's just, you know,
oh yes.
Oh, can I have this? Can I, you know, just go away, help yourself, you know.
That's one of my changes for lockdown, is the food bills have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Thank goodness I'm not paying for petrol just now. Yeah, it's awful trying to keep them fed and everything. And I've found that with the change in routine, just having my husband still going out to work, but I've got both the boys here. My oldest is 23 and he's working from home, and just having the different dynamic in the house, and just not having that peace and quiet. If you just need half an hour, and no matter where you go in the house, they find you. And if it's not the boys, it's the dogs.
Yeah. Well, I've got a wire-haired pointer, so you know he's kind of always on the go as well. So
yeah, I know the feeling. I've got two beagles that are they're either fast asleep or up to no good.
Oh, yeah. I think though the dog, because he's sort of suddenly had way more exercise, because it's an excuse for people, you know, we'll just take the dog for a walk. So I think he's kind of desperate for things to be over so he can just lie and have a peaceful afternoon again.
I think that's all the dogs up and down the country from what I've been hearing. And especially now, you know, you can go out several times with them. They're like, oh, do I have to go out for another walk? Do you you know, have your other family members and things that you have to keep in touch with, and how are you doing that?
Well, my mum and dad, they stay near Thurso on the north coast of Scotland, so I mean, keeping in touch with them is pretty much the same as it's always been, a kind of weekly phone call. I've brothers and sisters across the country. Well, my brother stays in Australia, so he was actually due to be coming home with his family, and it'll be the first time I've seen him in about 4 years, but their flights were cancelled, obviously, so they're not coming home. So we've been kind of zooming and WhatsApping with him. My sisters, I just kind of Facebook and stuff to keep in touch with them.
Yeah, I think it's the people that see family members on a regular basis find it hard. I'm like you, my mum's up in Inverness, so and I'm down here in Milton Keynes, so we're just used to not seeing each other very often, and it's a regular phone call. My in-laws are in Perth, where you are, and so again, it's phone calls and everything, but it must be hard. I've got a friend just down the road who's, sees her mum quite often, a few times a week, and, I think she's finding it really hard,
Yeah.
just the change in routine and not being able to, you just want to check everyone's okay, basically, don't you?
I mean, my in-laws are in Perth as well, and my kids really miss going to see them. My son in particular just kind of he used to love going to his granny's on a Saturday and destroying her food cupboard rather than mine. So, and he's really missing that. He's really missing going to see his granny's granddad. And that's difficult because we FaceTime them and speak to them quite a lot, but it's not the same as going to see them. And that's, I think, my son and my youngest daughter really struggle with that, not being able to see their granddad as much as they want to.
Yeah, it is a shame for the children. At least your children are old enough to understand it. Feel sorry for those with younger children that you just can't explain this situation to them. I don't know if we all understand it ourselves even, because it's so bizarre.
I mean, it's completely unique in pretty much everyone's experience. That kind of suddenly just kind of stopping the world essentially.
Yeah.
Stay in your house, don't go to school, don't see your friends, all that kind of, and it was just really very, very sudden that it happened. There wasn't really time to kind of mentally prepare for it or anything. So I think it's just.
No, it's been a shock to us all, and sometimes you think, am I really in this? Am I dreaming it? Is it really happening? But unfortunately it is, and we've just got to keep on going.
Yeah.
How are you doing for we've mentioned it, food shopping and things like that? You're in a small village, so are you getting deliveries in, or are you going into Perth and getting it?
I used to kind of generally do the food shopping before I had the stroke. So after the stroke, to save an additional burden on my wife, that we started getting food deliveries. So we've been doing that, for the past year, and we've just continued to do that. We probably need to be a bit more organised now in terms of booking slots and well in advance and making sure that we've got everything. But we've managed pretty well with that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And I mean, you mentioned going out swimming and things like that. So obviously, that's been a big change to you as well. So what have you been doing at home to keep yourself busy? Have you discovered any new hobbies?
No, I've set up what I call the pain cave in my garage. So basically, I've got a bike on a turbo trainer. I've got a TRX, which is a kind of straps that you use to exercise with. So I've got a set of them set up. So I go out every morning and do maybe about an hour and a half sort of exercising as much as I can. I've got to be careful as to what I do. I can't do anything that involves too much heavy lifting. I can't do anything that causes my heart rate to go too high. But I've got quite a good kind of routine that I do in the garage every morning, pretty much. So I do that. Say the dog's been getting a good walk every morning. That's kind of my outdoor exercise. Obviously, up in Scotland, lockdown's been a wee bit different. We're allowed to exercise as many times a day as we want, but other than that, we've still very much got the stay home message. So, having the setup I've got in my garage has been good, and it allows me to do quite a lot of stuff in that. The Pilates instructor does online classes, so I've been doing them as well to try and keep in touch with that. In terms of new hobbies, not really. I've been probably reading a lot more than I did. Again, that's difficult for me because my concentration isn't what it was. But I've kind of got away from that kind of the immediate post-stroke thing of just sitting in front of the television and watching daytime TV. I've kind of moved away from that. I do much more reading now, but so that's really the kind of main thing. And all these wee jobs about the house that we always manage to put off and put off. Well, there's kind of no excuse anymore that we've just got to get them done. So I've been doing some of the wee jobs in the house as well.
Well, that's good. It's interesting that you mention reading, because a lot of people seem to struggle with getting back into reading after a stroke. I was a big reader. I mean, we were brought up in the era of books rather than Kindles and things. I still prefer a real book kind of thing, but I've struggled with my stroke to get back into it. Just like you said, the concentration, whereas before I could quite easily sit down and read a book cover to cover in one go.
Yeah.
And it might be that some other people are struggling. So, if you've got any advice how to build up their reading, do you just do a few pages at a time, have total peace and quiet? How do you do it?
I've probably got a few strategies that I use. Kind of regular breaks is one of the things. Another thing is kind of leaving my phone and not touching my phone. I'm always one of these. I've always been one of these people that when I read and I see something interesting, what's a reference to a place, or I do kind of I quite like sort of historical stuff. So if it's like something that happened in history, I'll go and look at that and just divert my attention and go, and I'll get lost in Wikipedia. So I'm trying to leave my phone alone and just, I've got 15, 20 minutes. I'll read for 15, 20 minutes and then I'll go and make a cup of tea or just do something to break that up a wee bit. And rather than, because, before I was the sort of person that I could read solidly for 2 or 3 hours. And now it's not. I need to break it up, but it's about, I find, breaking it up into, so you have a chunk where I'll do a 15 or 20 minutes, I'll leave it, I'll go away, and then I'll come back and revisit it. You're probably much the same when you read a book and you sort of sit there for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and then think, do you know, I can't actually remember reading much of this book. I've just been turning pages. So that's what I find, that taking, having a breaks kind of timetable done, it stops that just kind of your mind wandering, the pages just getting turned without actually realising.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, that does happen. I think probably this is the ideal time for us all to practice our reading skills. So thanks for the advice. So when lockdown's over for all of us, whenever that may be for you, what are you looking forward to most?
I think going back to coffee shops, I enjoyed sitting watching the world go by in a coffee shop, and getting back to swimming again. It's that bit of exercise. It takes me out of the house. It's something I would rarely do it before I had the stroke. I was never great at it before the stroke, and it's something that it's a bit of a necessity really in terms of an exercise that I can do that challenges me a wee bit. So I was enjoying that. I was getting quite good at it, and I've obviously had to stop. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that, and just being, I've got some friends in the village, to be able to go and sit down and have a coffee and a blether with them. It's kind of during lockdown, it's not easy to catch up with people. It's, we can sit and phone, but it's not quite the same as sitting down and having a conversation that just goes on all sorts of tangents that you didn't expect. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
That's it. It's that proper face-to-face contact, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're actually with the person, it's slightly different. I mean, down here we can go and meet somebody in a park now if we want, as long as we keep 2 meters apart and it's only one person. But it's such a, it's where do you go? The parks are also busy and what have you. So you know, for those of us that really want to sort of protect ourselves, we haven't really gained too much down here, but I'm sure we'll get back to normality sometime, and the children will get back to school and they stop
Yeah,
arguing about when that's going to be. But yours will just be about to start their school holidays in a few weeks, won't they?
at the end of June, the school holidays would start, and they'll go back in August. So I certainly don't see them going back before August. And quite what going back to school looks like, even come August, I'm not quite sure. My youngest daughter is due to go up to high school this year, so it's been a wee bit, because normally there'd be a whole lot of work done towards transition for her, and she's missed
Yeah.
all of that. So what that'll look like for her is something we just need to wait and see, I'm afraid.
Yes, it's been, it's been an upset with, apart from no school and everything, with exams and things for children in secondary schools and everything like that. It's really thrown them all, and I think it'll have some impact on them, going forward, kind of thing. From the point of view, I think they've worked so hard for so long, and then the exams were just on their doorstep and they got snatched from underneath them.
I mean, that's the situation. My eldest daughter's in that situation. She was due to do hires this year. So she'd worked really hard across the course of the year, and hopefully that will stand her in good stead. But she's now kind of in a bit of limbo, waiting for her higher results, without having the chance to do the exams.
Yeah.
And the exams are a stressful time for kids, and to have done all that work and then get told, well, your teacher's going to just give you a grade. And it really, she's quite anxious about, well, what grades am I going to get?
Yeah.
I mean, she's clever and she's worked hard, so I think she'll get good grades, but it's just need to wait and see.
That's it. And if she wants to go on to university, I think they're going to be flexible with, with the situation and everything. And hopefully it'll all work out for them all. My son sits his A levels next year. This year he didn't have any exams, thankfully. But other people with children of that age, friends, and that seems to be the discussion. They're worried they're not going to get what they deserve. But I think the teachers have to be fair, and they know the children, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said at the start, I'm in the police, but before my stroke, I was working at the police college. I had quite a lot of input in exams for police officers, and really the kind of the exams that we do for the end of high school, they're not by any means the best way to test people. So it's maybe an opportunity to actually look at what the best way to do that is going forward.
Well, that's it. It might be a big change for the exams and everything, because like you say, the exams don't suit everybody, and it's the stress and the conditions and things like that. So maybe there is another way around it. I know in sixth form down in England, they do a lot of BTECs, which is obviously continually assessed over the year or 2 years that they're in sixth form, and that can work a lot better for people as well. So time will tell. We shall see what the new normal after lockdown's going to be.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks very much for talking to me today, Andy. And we look forward to seeing you sometime. I believe you were supposed to be coming down to Milton Keynes last month, weren't you?
That's right, yeah.
So hopefully we'll get that rescheduled and the ambassador training back on, and we'll see you down south sometime.
Good. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for today.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we'll speak to you soon.
Will do. Bye now.
Okay, bye.